Genius for life. Coconut smoothies coming at you. Hello there. Welcome to episode 60 of 15 Minutes of Genius. That's right, 6-0. We are like, what is that? 60, I can't believe I couldn't do the math. 60% of the way there to 100 episodes. Wow, I got to drink more Genius juice. I couldn't think of the number. So we're in an awesome studio. It's called Manhattan Beach Studios. Big plug to Mark Nicholas, Mark Ann at ManhattanBeachStudios.net for all your editing desires. If you need editing or a photo shoot in LA for products, if you need video shoots, if you need to do your own podcast, which is becoming very popular, he is your man for that, Mark Ann at ManhattanBeachStudios.net. So our guest, without further ado, Kaitlin Mogentale. I had to practice her last name like 5 times to get it right. I think I nailed it. She's the founder and CEO of Pulp Pantry. A little bit about the company and her. Pulp Pantry is building the next generation of CPG, made better for people and the planet. The brand's flagship product is a line of veggie chips reinvented, made from nearly 50%, that's 50%, upcycled ingredients, providing nearly a full day's serving of fiber in each bag. Leveraging a unique sourcing model, in 2020, Pulp Pantry upcycled 50,000 pounds of fresh vegetables that would have otherwise gone to waste. Let's see what else. Sold online, Thrive Market, West Coast retailers, including Whole Foods and Target. That's where I found your product, in the produce section. We'll talk about that. So yeah, let's roll right in. Kaitlin, how are you?
I'm doing super well. As you know, it's a sunny day in Los Angeles. We can't complain. No winter weather here.
Never. That's why we pay 60% more for just about everything in LA.
It's so true. I mean, honestly, I feel like once you make it over here, you can kind of never leave. Although everyone's exodusing to Austin and Miami now, so I'm just I think I'm on the next train over there.
Okay, well, have a good time because I'm staying right here.
Yeah.
I'm never
Yeah.
leaving SoCal, no matter what. The home prices
Love
could go
that.
up quadruple. I could be paying $9,000 for renting a 1-bedroom apartment in Hollywood. I don't care. I'm staying here. I got my feet in the
I
ground.
know.
So,
I know. You know what? I'm a Chicago girl. I'm from Chicago, and I always have said that my whole life. I'm like, I don't know where you can't get better from here. So it is hard to imagine what a future without California would look like. I'm not gonna lie.
exactly. I mean, I was, like you're from Chicago. I was born and raised here, which makes it really hard to leave because when I traveled anywhere where the weather is below 45 degrees,
Yeah,
I
you're
start
like,
I start panicking. I'm like, what's going on here? I'm going to freeze to death. I'm going to get gangrene. I mean, it's really I'm like a wuss when it comes to cold weather because we're so spoiled out here with such great weather.
we are
So
so spoiled.
let's go into something the opposite of spoiled, which is awesome product. Pulp Pantry. Tell us more about the mission, the story, the product. Product tastes fantastic. It is merchandised fantastically in Target. So tell us more about your story and the product and where you guys are at in distribution.
I just have to give myself some credit because I probably was the one that might have merchandised some of those stores. I go in as much as possible, but we also both know Julio from Golden Empire, and he's also got a team on the ground doing some amazing work, getting emerging brands like us set up properly in retailers like Target. So shout out to Julio. But Pulp Pantry started, actually very humble beginnings in the farmers markets across LA, and it was really this experiment project that I would say came from a realization that I had sitting at a friend's house watching her juice a carrot, and was blown away by the tiny amount of juice that was produced and the large amounts of the vegetable fiber. And she looked at me, and all my friends knew I was this crazy zero waste girl, like all throughout college and whatnot. And she looked at me and she goes, normally I throw the pulp away. I don't know what to do with it. So I, adamantly was like, I'm taking this home. I'm going to figure something out. Started making some carrot cakes, carrot muffins, and it kind of snowballed from really that aha moment, because I had called up some juiceries locally and I just said, hey, I'm just curious, like, what do you guys do with your pulp at the end of the day? And all of them, in Los Angeles, it's hard for farmers to get out here and pick up byproduct to compost or
Mm-hmm.
to take for animal feed. So most of them were just sending it to the landfill. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is organic produce. We all know how expensive organic produce can be. And I also, had been working at the same time at an urban elementary school garden at a Title I school in South Los Angeles and West Adams. So, in these schools, it's the free breakfast and free lunch program. But I was looking at what kids were eating, and I was like, it's kind of just shocking to me that we live so close to the Central Valley of California, where all of our country's fruits and vegetables basically are grown, and kids are coming to school eating like French fries and pizza sauce count as your daily vegetable. So I just kind of put those two issues together. I was like, what is it that we can do that would eliminate the large amount of food waste that's happening? Obviously, we waste 40% of food in the United States, most of which is actually fruits and vegetables. And yet 9 in 10 Americans don't get their servings of fruits, vegetables, or fiber. So for me, there was just something that had to exist in that middle ground where we could, tackle both of those issues. And of course, that's kind of what snowballed into what Pulp Pantry has become today. And Pulp Pantry's looking at categories where we could make fruits, vegetables, and fiber more accessible for everyday Americans. So
Mm-hmm.
the veggie chips that we created was really looking at the white space on shelf and saying, Americans are trying to eat better. They're trying to eat veggie chips, thinking that this is a healthier option. And yet, if you turn over a pack of veggie chips, what do you see as the first ingredient? Potato starch.
Mm-hmm.
So I really thought that, like, for us to kind of enter the market with not only this upcycled idea, which is, such a new, I think, actually I was on a call with the Upcycled Food Association, their quarterly call this morning, and the stat that they threw out was only 3% of Americans know what upcycling means.
Mm.
So we're still really early days with what communicating that the whole world of upcycling really will be for the everyday consumer. But I think at least on the veggie chip side, it's a no-brainer. People want to eat better, and how can we get better ingredients in our products and provide more nutrition to everyday people?
Exactly. There's so many amazing things that you've hit on, Kaitlin, which is we just had a guest on, Blake Emery, who does a lot of R&D and formulation, and he
Oh, I know
said,
Blake. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
he was just on episode 59, which for those at home, just to spoil it for you, I tape many episodes in a row. It's not like I'm doing one a week. Just to let you know, this is not live. So all the mistakes I make, they're all edited out to make me look better. My guests are always perfect. I'm the one that screws up. So, but going back to it, like he talked about how he was upcycling and working on projects like for ginger and turmeric, and how they were using upcycled roots, and how the cost of
Mm-hmm.
goods for entrepreneurs watching or listening, the cost of goods is so much lower on upcycled food because it would
Mm.
normally be waste, which allows you to make it high quality product, and then you can also get the cost down and ultimately the retail price down to make it accessible for the consumer to buy. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But so I do
I
have a
think
question.
accessibility is a key piece of the conversation. I mean, obviously for all of us in the food industry, especially emerging brands, it is really
Hmm.
difficult. I mean, we're fighting against subsidies for certain crops that might not be the most nutritious, and fighting against, some of the, I think it's difficult because I think for me at least, coming in naively to the industry, I thought, hey, if I use upcycled ingredients, I can make fruits and vegetables more accessible, less expensive, so that people can really, afford these items every day. But I think as you dive into it a little bit further, it's not always the easiest thing to do. And I think, still, if I'm being critical of my own product, like, it still is on the higher end.
What's the
And
price
it's
on
not
it in
because,
the stores?
well, let's say you're going to like the chip aisle and you look at veggie chips. I would say that for the most part, everything's going to be under $4, and we're right now at $4.99. So we're definitely on the high end. We're a dollar more probably than most of the other potato starch based chips.
Hmm.
And I think, like, the hope there is that the value proposition obviously warrants that higher cost. I mean, it's not, there's no potatoes in our product, no corn, none of those kind of subsidized crops. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, how do we balance that, right? As an emerging brand, you want to make natural food and healthier products more accessible to everyday Americans, but at the same time, I think it's just like staging it out to get there. And I still haven't figured out what that's going to look like for us, but hopefully, we can keep on being at a competitive price, I think, as some of the other products.
Well, you and me both. I think one of the hardest
Yeah.
things in creating a great product and a high quality product is getting the consumers to understand the value and why they're paying an extra dollar
Yeah.
or $2. Like we're competing, putting them on blast. the Naked Juices of the world, right? Or the Koyas
Yeah.
of the world. Like I don't mind saying the competitors' brand names. We fully believe that we have a higher quality product than theirs, better ingredients, more minimal ingredients, 100% organic. But ours costs anywhere from $1 to $2 more. So going back to
Mhm.
you, I always like to kind of stick it to the competitors. I find it fun,
That's
but
awesome.
no censorship here on this show. So going back to your product, how are you communicating? Because you have such a great story with the upcycling. How are you getting
Yeah.
consumers to be more aware of this and to really separate yourself on the shelf? Is it through social media? Is it on the front of the packaging? Like, how are you going to get the word out to get more consumers to understand the mission behind your product?
I think the nice thing about what's happening in the space right now, I mean, there are some of us I know, like, Regrange, Renewal Mill, these are some of the brands that we've really grown up with who have even Regrange. I remember finding them on the shelf at the Berkeley Bowl when I had just started my farmers markets, and I was like, I can't believe there's someone else doing this out there. And I think, finding those cohorts of brands that are paving the way, and also I think the Upcycled Food Association has been just in the past year, there's huge momentum. I think they have almost 200 members now, and it's one of those things where you start to realize, okay, there's a critical mass, and um, having that camaraderie is really what's going to help us to spread the word about why upcycled food is so important for today and for the sustainability of our food system, for the next generations to come. Because it is a challenging concept, right? Thinking about upcycled ingredients, and as a consumer, like, what does that mean? Where are you sourcing those upcycled ingredients from? Is it something that was going to waste and now I'm eating it? Is that safe? Is
Mm,
that healthy? Like,
good
what
point.
does that mean? So I
Yeah.
think having the educational pieces around upcycled foods, it's a challenging space to dance in, but I also understand that consumers nowadays sustainability is coming top of mind. It's not just a secondary value, but it's actually something that a lot of consumers are putting at the top of their list. Of course, after taste and probably after cost too. But I think sustainability has become something that it really is a core value for consumers, and so people are more and more motivated to fight food waste at home, to fight food waste in thinking about like the way that they shop. So I do feel like now is the time for us to really push into the messaging and not be afraid to talk about upcycling as something that can have both consumer benefits and also benefits for the environment and just I think the food system at large.
Exactly. I think, yeah, my intuition is that the wave is just going to start, right? It's not like cresting
Yeah.
yet. It's not like,
No.
it's not going down yet. But you're catching the wave very, very early. It's like investing in Tesla in 2015, right? Before it goes up 10x, 20x, 30x, 40x. So I think you're on the right pathway, and it's a great mission. And once
Yeah.
consumers fully understand the value, once there's more news and PR behind it, people will go out of their way to buy products like yours to support just a better environment and more sustainability. Let's talk about Target, okay? We talked
Mm.
about it offline. I know you want to give a big shout out to them. My shout out is to Derek Furlong. He's our buyer for Target when we got in.
That's ours.
So it's
Yeah.
yours too. Okay, so Derek,
Yes.
he is the man. Love him. So I went out. It was right before the pandemic. It was negative. I met with him in February of 2020, and it was
Wow.
negative 17 degrees. Because you have to go all the way to Minnesota. We worked through our broker, Moscow Group, great group, and we
Yeah.
met him and Moscow at the headquarters right across the street in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Negative 17 degrees. I was the only one really suffering there because everyone else was used to the weather. I was a California boy coming off the plane in shorts and a t-shirt. So, but tell us more about your story with Target, how you developed the relationship there. It's a big leap to go from natural to mass market. So
Yeah.
tell us about your partnership with them and how things are going.
And I would say that's what's cool about today's consumers are, it's almost like if you can't make it work in mass, then how I feel like everyone deserves access to healthier, right, more nutritious products and ones with cleaner ingredients that meet their values orientation. And so it's interesting because I feel like, the normal stepping stones are definitely go natural, then go to grocery, like conventional grocery, then go to mass. But it is kind of cool to be able to have the opportunity to bring your products to a mass grocer where you are connecting with maybe a different type of consumer, but still, as both of us are merchandised in the produce aisle, being able to say like, hey, these are consumers who are actually looking for healthier options in the produce department, fresh foods and whatnot. And so that kind of has brought, I think, a lot of benefit just to thinking about how do we connect with those people too. But I would say the story with Derek there is actually like I did the Target incubator in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was developing our line of pulp chips, I was actually in Minnesota living there for 4 to 5 months, and
No way.
I was working. They have an amazing accelerators program, and I definitely highly recommend any person who's a brand owner, whether it be in beauty or in food, check out their accelerators programs because they're doing incredible things to support the next generation of entrepreneurs. And I yeah, through that program, actually, Derek was in a senior, I think he was a senior supply. Derek, I'm sorry if you're listening. I forget what your role was exactly, but he was like sourcing and supply chain. And when I was going through kind of thinking about how do I work with my co-packer to develop this crazy product line that's made from fresh ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
he was helping me think about the contract, like the contract that I would develop with them, pricing, and all of those things. And then at the end of the way that I remember it was just basically at the end of the program, I just sent everyone a thank you. And I was like, hey, we finished it. We developed this product. It's out there, and sent samples. And I think Derek's idea was, but he called me. He was like, hey, I just moved into a merchandising role in produce or a buying role in produce. And I think this could be a great fit in the
Mm.
snack set there.
So
And
he actually called you to bring it in.
well,
Wow.
he just I think it's like, I sent samples to everyone, and I think it was just I know that he's been bringing a ton of really cool emerging products into the space, so it was probably just in alignment with whatever
Mm-hmm.
the strategy was there. And I know Target itself is like focusing a lot on sustainable brands and female founded brands, and they've got so many different value sets that they're trying to bring into their buying programs as well. So I thought that was really cool. I mean, it's a very cool opportunity to launch a brand with a retailer partner like that, and just gives you a huge leg up and a huge step up to really get the products out there in front of people, and then hopefully being able to tell your story and connect with different type of consumer that is potentially not, maybe they weren't even the normal Target grocery shopper, but now they're like, hey, there are actually some really cool products in the plant-based
Mm-hmm.
section of Target.
Yep.
And it's bringing a different consumer obviously into those stores, and it's also giving them a completely different experience when they're shopping. I know for me personally, I have been going to Targets now, since we've launched, and going almost every week. And what I love is like I go to the beauty section. I'm like, this is so cool that I just bought like 3 new zero waste deodorants because I'm like, wait, there's like all this stuff in paper tubes, and no
Right.
other retailer is doing that. Like even I think some of the sustainable retailers that you think like Whole Foods or whatever else, like some of them don't even have the same kind of selection that is so sustainability leaning and so forward leaning that Target is. And I think grocery is still making its way there, but the produce department is where it's at, because that's where we really do have some better for you products, right? And so I'm really excited about that. And they've been an awesome partner. Derek's amazing, and definitely am super grateful for all my experience of working with Target, both in the incubator and now selling in store.
Yeah, that's a great story. Yeah, I mean, I love Derek. He's so awesome. Like, it's a very open buyer, bringing in a lot of new items, taking chances on younger emerging brands. So it was really a breath of fresh air to meet with him, and it sounds like he made the right choice in bringing your product in. He brought in Genius Juice, and Target has been really upping their game. One thing I've noticed in the last 2 years is they're redesigning every single store in the country, almost all of them, and
Mm-hmm.
opening up their marketplace. They call it the marketplace now, where they have full grocery aisles, the produce aisle, refrigeration with a huge, like 8 to 10 foot wall of kombuchas, juices, smoothies.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
awesome. Tell us just really briefly why you're in the produce section, right? It's this; these are chips, right? They're still considered
Mm-hmm.
chips to the untrained consumer, right? Normally, that's in the long aisle with all the other chips. Why did Derek decide to put you into the produce set, and how did that come to be?
This has honestly been a dream of mine too, like pitching to retailers and really wanting to tell the upcycled story, because we're working with cold pressed juice suppliers. Suja is one of our main
No way,
suppliers.
really?
Yes,
Wow.
yeah. So I mean, props to Suja because they took a huge chance on us also. And we're like, when we were just ordering, I was ordering like maybe 100 pounds at a time from them just to test in a test kitchen over in Pasadena. And this is when we were developing the pulp chip line, and we used to have a cereal or granola line that we couldn't. That's a longer story. Okay, another time we'll tell that story.
Yeah, it's part
But
two. Yeah.
anyways, yeah, part two. But it basically, like, one of the things that was really compelling to me was like, wow, this could be just a product that we tell that vegetable, like the vegetable forward story of the ingredients, and of course the upcycling story next to Suja. And so actually for Earth Day coming up, Suja and I are working on developing shelf talkers and also doing a field marketing initiative where essentially we're bringing out the samples that tell our story of like, how do we work with Suja to make this product?
Mm.
And we're leaning on their field marketing team to go distribute samples and a little leaflet that tells more about our story. And then we're also working on some shelf talkers that it'll be only probably LA and San Diego potentially that get them, but at least like finding a way to tell that story on shelf, which I think is just a really unique opportunity. And, if we were in the chip set, it wouldn't really make sense to lean on that story. But I think because we're all in produce, we're able to find some more fun ways to tell that story and kind of not share the cost, but share the resources to tell people like, hey, this is a really cool thing that's happening on the ground and in store. And you can actually buy into that as a consumer too.
Yeah, I think it's really, one thing I want to add is like that's I think how high they hold this product in regard. Where with pulp chips, so basically it's considered almost like a fresh item, right? Because it's in
Yeah.
the produce set versus a grocery aisle, which is more, the shelf stable and like 1 2 year shelf life. And I feel because of the story of upcycling real vegetables, right, and then having more
Yeah.
of a fresh experience, even though it's a shelf stable item, that's what caught my eye and why I found it. So I found out about your product and brand first in the store before even knowing you and meeting you, like through LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So I just
Mm-hmm.
discovered it accidentally because it's so well merchandised in that produce area where there's a lot of foot traffic going on, a lot more foot traffic there than in the grocery aisle, right? So I one
Let
thing
me
I
tell you,
noticed, yeah, I mean it's
Derek has been so patient with us because we had a really rocky start with launching in Target. As a small emerging brand, you don't really know what your purchase order size is going to be, right? And so
mhm,
for us, that was it was a little bigger, let's just say, than we expected.
it's a good
So
problem.
we definitely, yeah, no, but what was really crazy is like the merchandising piece is so key. And I mean, if you're going to stores, what's kind of fun about Target, and maybe I shouldn't really say this, and maybe Derek's gonna get mad at me. I don't know, but I think like what's cool about Target is like there really isn't, it in the produce department. It is so because everything's perishable and because it's like so. I wouldn't say it's not as buttoned up, right? You don't have dry goods where it's like you're always constantly have stock on shelves. Like sometimes there's supply chain issues with certain produce items that leave certain shelves empty. So
Mm,
what's been really fun is actually going into store and being like, hey, there are opportunities where you can merchandise your product and um, there's an empty side cap right there. Go put your go put your product on a side cap. So I think that's been a fun thing to play around with in the produce department too. But yeah, we had some issues in the beginning, just like with certain SKUs not being on shelf and whatnot. So I'm glad the store you visited had a good setup there, and that's thanks to some of the merchandising teams on the ground.
there you
I
go.
wonder, Alex. I know I'm not supposed to ask you any questions, but I wonder what made you feel like Target was going to be a really good partner for Genius Juice.
That's great. No, I love getting questions on here. So the interviewee has become the interviewer.
I love it.
I've just been watching Target for years. I mean, I went there as a kid to the Torrance Target. The one thing I notice is like I mentioned before, they've really upped their game, where there's a
Yeah.
lot of plant-based premium options that are going into that produce set.
Yeah.
When we evaluate any partners, we want to make sure that our product can be successful, right? So that the
Yeah.
partnership as a whole is successful. And so, starting in 2019, we felt confident enough with the remodels of the stores, with Target putting in a marketplace and looking at more sustainable, forward-thinking organic
Hmm.
brands like Genius Juice and others that are on the shelf, like GT Kombucha and like other smoothies and juices like Suja. We felt confident that our product would perform at store level. So that's what attracted me about Target is their
Yeah.
philosophy and culture.
Yeah.
And then I just, it's also a Southern California, like there's tons of them. and our backyard is SoCal. So, but anyway, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. We're running out of time, but the next thing we want to go into is rapid fire questions. Rapid fire questions.
Oh no.
All right, so it's going to be real quick because we are overtime. Of course, I'm okay with going overtime because you have an amazing story, but here we go into the questions. Answer them to the best of your ability. NSYNC or Backstreet Boys?
In sync.
First thing you do when you wake up?
Ooh, I actually go to my garden and I water my plants.
Nice. Some of it's sourced for your chips too, right? So, movie you can watch an unlimited amount of times.
I really don't watch movies
Okay.
ever. I would, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.
That's an answer in and of itself. Song you can listen to an unlimited amount of times.
I love Jungle. Do you know the artist Jungle? I love Jungle. So any of their music, I'll just play it on repeat all the time.
I know Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses. That's about it.
Well, that was good too. I'm a big fan of that, but you should check out Jungle.
Jungle.
See what you think. Let me know.
I'll put on my Apple iMusic or Apple Music. Favorite sport to watch?
I don't, growing up, I always was a Chicago Bulls fan, and that was my favorite thing, was going to Chicago Bulls games. It's been a while since I went to a basketball game, but we'll go with that.
Little did you know, you just answered 2 questions from answering that. We'll get into that later.
Nice.
Zoom, Microsoft Teams is hitting the bonus here. Microsoft Teams or Google Meet? Which video platform do you like the most?
Dude, Google Meets has been just messing with me lately, like muted. It's all over the place. So I would say Zoom.
I agree with you. I get muted for no reason. Maybe it's because maybe the admin mutes me because I talk too much, but who knows? So what is your spirit animal?
Spirit animal, gosh, I one time saw a huge furry bunny rabbit basically just crossing. It was actually, I was doing the John Muir Trail, which is up in the Sierra Mountains.
Muir Woods. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this humongous. I can't even. I'm like just imagine the biggest bunny you've ever seen, and
so that's
it just
your spirit
crossed
animal.
the trail.
The huge ass bunny.
That was my spirit animal.
Okay.
I had that thought. I was like, wow, I just imprinted on this massive bunny rabbit. So that's what it's all about.
Nice. Sounds like a really maybe a bunny rabbit from very big, but has great genes. So window seat or aisle seat on an airplane?
Always window.
Peanut butter or almond butter, or neither?
Oh, I love the taste of peanut butter the best, but almond butter, because I just think I've been I think it's healthier, right?
Exactly. Definitely is. Yeah. Hopefully it is. I've been eating a lot of it. So cold weather or hot weather? I think you answered this in the beginning, but which one?
Hot weather.
And the question you already answered, I'm going to ask it anyway. LeBron James or Michael Jordan?
Michael Jordan, come on. I mean, okay, LeBron James, great guy, so I have nothing bad to say about LeBron James. He's awesome too. But The Last Dance was so good, and then I was like, dude, this you just can't compare.
Yeah, he is the man. That's an amazing documentary. Last Dance, for those that have some time, go on Netflix, watch it. Ginger or turmeric?
Ugh. Well, turmeric is just hard because it dyes your hands, so ginger.
There you go. Favorite food or drink if you're stuck on a deserted island and you cannot say Genius Juice and you cannot say Pulp Pantry?
This is my lunch today. God, that's hard. I would say favorite. It's like a packaged food brand, or is it just like
it could be anything. We've had people say cocktails with shrimp. I mean, I've had people say a lot of different things on the show. So.
All right. Gosh, what do I eat the most of? Recently, just good old fruit jerky or something like, Imperfect Produce has like a fruit jerky that's like, sometimes I eat that and I'm like, oh God, it's dinner time. I gotta put some real food in my body.
It's dinner time. Let's get fruit jerky.
Yeah,
Makes sense. Not the steak, not the wine, fruit jerky. All right. So that is rapid fire questions with Kaitlin, founder and CEO of Pulp Pantry. It's a lot of cheering, Mark. Wow. All right, so Mark's our producer. Yeah, He
Oh,
turned he
nice.
cranked it up real high for you. All the
Oh,
applause.
thanks, Mark. Wow. Snaps.
Keep it going. Oh man, it's getting
That's
goofy
awesome.
here on 15 Minutes of Genius. All right, so thank you so much, Kaitlin, for joining us
Thank
on
you.
episode 60 of 15 Minutes, and congrats on all your success with the product.
Thanks. Nice to meet you, and thanks for having me on. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you around town soon.
Totally, LA for life. All right, so again, that is episode 60, 15 Minutes of Genius. We go overtime on these shows, especially with amazing stories. So I think we clocked in at 30 minutes. It's okay, it's just double the amount of time. You have the time, right, to watch and listen when it's awesome. All right, so again, big plug to Mark Nicholas, mark@manhattanbeachstudios.net. There it is below. Email this guy, mark@manhattanbeachstudios.net, all your editing desires. And one last thing, stay upcycled and genius, my friends.
Genius for life. Coconut smoothies coming at you.